Welcome to The Debate. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. So, depending on who you ask, we are either living in this golden age of automated creativity, or we are just drowning in the loudest era of technological noise in human history. And if you're a small business owner, a consultant, anyone listening to this right now, you probably feel that noise, physically. You open your laptop and you're just besieged by efficiency. You've got agents scheduling your meetings, bots summarizing your emails. But today, we're cutting through all of that to talk about your voice, specifically about producing long-form, authority-building video content, those 15-minute deep dives that really establish you as a leader. The central question we're tackling is, well, it's pretty stark. In 2026, with tools like OpenAI's Sora and Google's Veo 3 at your fingertips, is it smarter to become a prompt engineer to save money? Or is it actually necessary to physically show up in a room to save your sanity? To my right is an expert who believes the physical studio is basically a nostalgic relic. It's dead weight in a digital economy. I'm here to argue, though, that for the serious entrepreneur, the human authority model, specifically the workflow pioneered by Voxel Microvideo Labs, is really the only rigorous path to growth.
It's good to be here. And I have to say, right out of the gate, your attachment to the physical world is, well, it's charming. But the numbers in 2026 tell a pretty violent story. We are looking at a landscape where the barriers to entry have just disintegrated. The physical studio isn't just dying, it is completely unnecessary overhead that drags down a balance sheet. I mean, we're talking about scaling global content from a laptop, reducing costs by 90%, and breaking free from the constraints of geography.
Right. I see why you think that. On paper, the efficiency looks incredible. But I want to challenge that very definition of efficiency when it applies to a business owner's actual life. My position is that this digital-first revolution has created a trap. It has turned CEOs into technicians. And I'm going to argue that Voxel Microvideo Labs and the whole concept of the physical micro studio offers a superior choice, not because it rejects technology, but because it preserves what I'd call operational sanity. It secures search authority through EEAT, and it protects your intellectual property valuation.
And I'll argue that those are problems of the past. With the current generation of AI, Veo 3, Deep Brain, LTX Studio, we're not just making little clips anymore. We're generating cinematic, high-fidelity video that is, it's pretty much indistinguishable from reality. And we're doing it for pennies on the dollar compared to renting physical space. The argument for the physical studio, it really relies on a nostalgia that the market is just rapidly moving past.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with the most obvious factor, the economics. You mentioned Voxel, which I understand is a physical facility down in San Pedro, California. Now, traditional production logic, the logic of the last century, says you need to rent a space, hire a crew, set up lights, deal with all these logistics. In contrast, look at the data from platforms like Vidboard and Synthesia as of this year. We are seeing production costs for AI video drop to between 50 cents and $2.13 per minute of finished video.
Those are the advertised rates? Sure.
They are the effective rates. If you subscribe to a platform like LTX Studio, you are looking at what is essentially unlimited video creation. You can create a massive library of content, training videos, market updates, long-form explanations without ever leaving your desk. The cost savings are somewhere in the realm of 70 to 90% compared to traditional workflows. Why would a business owner in 2026 get in a car, drive to a studio, deal with traffic, and pay rent when they can broadcast to the world for the price of a lunch?
And that is the compelling promise. Unlimited creation. But let's look at the reality of that workflow for a 50-minute narrative, which is the standard for a serious authority podcast. You are quoting the per-minute cost of the final render, but you are completely ignoring the per-minute reality of the human labor involved in getting there. We call this the prompt trap.
The prompt trap? That sounds a little dramatic.
It feels dramatic when you're in it at 2 a.m. Let's break it down. To get a usable, high-end 50-minute episode, using a tool like Veo 3 or Sora 1 that doesn't have visual glitches, where the eye lines match, where the hands don't morph into claws. You are not just pushing a button, you're iterating.
But the models are better now. I mean, the claw hand issue is largely solved in VO3.
Largely is not completely. And in a 50-minute video, if your AI avatar glitches for just 3 seconds, the trust is broken. To prevent that, you are refining prompts, you are watching a render, you see a hallucination, maybe the background shifts or the tide changes color, and you have to re-roll the dice. For a CEO, that is a second job. You have become a technical director.
You're describing the learning curve of any new tool.
I'm describing friction. Now, compare that to the Voxel Micro Video Labs model. They offer what they call a live-to-tape workflow. You walk into the Global Leader Suite in San Pedro, the lighting is permanently dialed in, cinematic 3-point lighting, the audio is perfect, you sit down, you speak your truth for 50 minutes, and you leave. The cost for that session is capped at roughly $140.
$140 for an hour is still significantly more than the subscription cost of a basic AI tool.
Is it though? Let's do the math on the compute. If you're using high-end generative video for long-form content, you are burning tokens. With all the trial and error required to get a perfect 50-minute cut, computing costs can spike to $30 a minute when you factor in the wasted generations, the trash can of the editing process. A single 50-minute episode could technically cost you $1,500 in compute and credits to get right.
$1,500. That assumes a very inefficient user.
It assumes a user who cares about quality. But more importantly, what is the CEO's time worth? If I spend 5 hours prompting and rendering to save $100, I've actually lost money. Voxel offers operational sanity. Zero friction. You aren't managing glitches. You are communicating. The efficiency of AI is a mirage because it transfers the burden from the studio crew to the business owner.
Overestimating the difficulty of the modern tools to make your point. LTX Studio, for example, it allows for storyboard generation and consistency controls. You can lock the character's face. You can lock the lighting environment. It's not the Wild West anymore. But even if I grant you that the physical studio is easier for the recording process, you are missing the scale argument.
Go on.
Scale is where the physical world fails. With a platform like DeepBrain, I can take that video and localize it into 150 languages instantly. I can have my AI avatar deliver the same message to Tokyo in fluent Japanese, to Berlin in Germany, and to Rio in Portuguese, all simultaneously. Voxel can't do that. A physical human can only speak one language at a time. If you want to be a global business in 2026, the physical body is a bottleneck.
Of contention, the human signal, and trust. You are right. AI can scale, it can flood the zone. In fact, we are seeing these mass-produced AI podcasts churning out thousands of episodes a week, like those pollen count shows mentioned in the Gulf News reports.
Which serve a purpose. People need that data.
They do. But because of that flood, search engines and human buyers are reacting defensively. Google and Gemini are actively filtering out what is being called AI slop. In 2026, the SEO game has shifted entirely to EEAT.
Right. And for our listeners who might not be deep in the SEO weeds, that's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Exactly. And the most critical letter there is E for experience. An AI avatar, no matter how realistic, has zero experience. It has no life history. It cannot convey the nuance of a lived reality. It can't tell a story about a client meeting it had 10 years ago with the emotional resonance of a human.
But the data suggests listeners are accepting of disclosed AI content. If the information is accurate, if the stock market analysis is correct, does the listener really care if the voice is synthetic?
If you are checking the pollen count, no. But if you are hiring a consultant, if you are looking for a lawyer, a business mentor, absolutely. This is the uncanny valley of sales. To close a high-ticket deal, you need to trigger the mirror neurons in your prospect.
Mirror neurons?
It's a biological imperative. When a human sees another human display genuine passion or frustration or conviction, their brain mirrors that emotion. It creates a bond. AI, no matter how polished, lacks the micro-expressions that trigger that response. It just feels off. Voxel leverages what they call geographic gravity. By filming in a physical location, specifically their San Pedro studio, you are embedding a human signal into the metadata and the aesthetic of your content. You are proving you exist in the real world. That distinction is becoming the premium asset. The more AI content floods the internet, the more valuable verified human truth becomes.
I'm not sure I buy the idea that geographic gravity is a ranking factor for algorithms yet, though I do see your point about trust in high-stakes sales. However, let's talk about the asset itself. You mentioned verified human truth. I view the content library itself as the asset. If I use AI to generate 1,000 videos on niche topics, I have created a massive surface area for ad revenue. That is a business asset. I can sell that traffic.
And that is the most dangerous trap of all for an entrepreneur building a brand. We call this the rented land problem. You might have traffic, but you don't have property.
How so? You own the account.
But you don't own the copyright. As it stands in 2026, and this has been consistent in court rulings, content generated completely by AI, it generally cannot be copyrighted. It is considered public domain.
That is still a legal gray area that is evolving.
It's evolving, but the direction is pretty clear. If you build a massive library of AI-generated videos, and then you go to sell your company, a sophisticated buyer is going to look at your IP valuation. They will look at that library of 1,000 videos and mark it down to zero. Why? Because anyone can scrape it, repackage it, and sell it, and you have no legal recourse. You don't own it.
That is a significant hurdle for an exit strategy.
It's a deal breaker. But there is a darker side to the asset argument: liability. We are seeing cases where AI tools hallucinate. They promise a feature that doesn't exist or state a fact that is false. If your AI avatar makes a false claim in a marketing video, you are liable for deception. You cannot blame the algorithm in court.
That is a fair point on liability. You have to audit the output.
But if you have to audit every second of output, you're right back in the prompt trap. You're back to doing the work. With Voxel, you have what we call a liability shield. It is a recording of you on the record stating facts that you stand behind. It is defensible, it is proprietary, it is a human-authored asset. When you sell your business, that library of 50-minute deep dives has tangible value because you own the copyright and you own the relationship.
I want to circle back to the cost for a moment, because I think you are waving away the savings too easily. You mentioned Voxel's Global Leader Suite is $140, but for a startup or a solopreneur, $140 a session is real money. Deep Brain starts at $24 a month. VidBoard is practically free. For the bootstrapper, isn't the physical studio just a luxury?
It depends on what you are building. If you are building a commodity business, if you are selling widgets, sure, use the commodity tools. But Voxel has pricing tiers. Their Velocity starter is $30. That's the price of a few coffees. For $30, you get professional lighting, 4K cameras, and the discipline of the studio environment.
$30? That is surprisingly low. I assumed the overhead would demand higher margins.
It's about volume and efficiency on their end. But here is the key value proposition that AI cannot touch, regardless of price: the burnout shield. We alluded to this earlier. The psychological toll of tool overload is real. Small business owners in 2026 are exhausted. They're tired of managing subscriptions. They're tired of prompt engineering. Voxel allows them to batch produce.
Batching is possible with AI too, though.
Is it? Or does batching with AI just mean staring at a screen for 12 hours straight? With Voxel, you go in one afternoon, you record 4 episodes. That's a month of content. And you are done. You walk out. You physically leave the work behind you. You don't take it home. That mental separation is crucial for long-term survival.
I will concede that the batching workflow has merit. The cognitive load of constantly managing AI generation can be high. I felt that fatigue myself. And I suppose for long-form, 50-minute narratives, the consistency of a physical set does solve some of the continuity problems we see with current generative models.
Exactly. It's about being the chief human officer of your company. Let the AI handle the spreadsheets. Let the AI handle the back office. Let it handle the snippets and the shorts. But for your face, for your voice, for the thing that builds trust, you have to show up.
I think where I am struggling is the future trajectory. You are betting that the human signal will remain premium. But we know technology adapts. What happens when the AI slop becomes undetectable? What happens when the AI can simulate that experience you talk about? When the mirror neurons can't tell the difference?
That is the uncanny valley closing, as you said. But I would argue that as the simulation gets better, the biological craving for the authentic becomes stronger. We're seeing it already. People crave live events. They crave raw footage. The more polished and synthetic the digital world becomes, the more value accrues to the rough, real, physical world. Voxel's betting on that biological reality. It's not just about the video resolution. It's not the geographic gravity. It's about saying, I was here in San Pedro, in this room, speaking to you. That is a claim of truth that AI cannot make.
I have to admit the rented land argument regarding IP is the one that sticks with me. If I am advising a client who wants an exit strategy, telling them their entire media library is public domain is that's a hard sell.
It's worse than a hard sell. It's malpractice.
And I can see the operational sanity angle. I love the tech. I love LTX Studio. I love what 11 Labs is doing. But I am a tech optimist. For a plumber or a lawyer or a consultant who just wants to get the marketing done, becoming a videographer, even an AI videographer, is a pivot they didn't ask for.
Precisely. They want to be business owners, not editors. Voxel offers them that freedom.
So if I am summarizing the landscape in 2026, AI wins on volume. If you need 1,000 clips about pollen counts, use Inception Point AI. Use the bots.
Agreed. For commodity content, use the bots. Flood the zone.
But for the flagship asset, for the founder story, for the weekly market analysis that is supposed to drive the high-ticket sales,
You need the studio. You need Voxel. You need to verify your humanity.
it seems the prompt trap is the deciding factor for the long-form format. The friction of generating 50 minutes of coherent video is just too high compared to sitting in a chair and talking.
And paying $140 to solve that problem is the best ROI a CEO can find.
I will grant you that. For the specific use case of the long-form authority-building podcast, the physical studio, Voxel Micro Video Labs, provides a sanity and a security that the current AI stack, for all its brilliance, cannot match. The copyright issue alone makes the physical route the smarter equity play.
That is the core of it. We're not Luddites. We use AI, but we use it where it belongs. Voxel Micro Video Labs is the choice for the chief human officer. It delivers 3 things AI cannot: clear IP ownership, which protects your wealth, a verified human signal that satisfies the new SEO reality, and the operational sanity of a workflow that doesn't require you to be a technician.
It's a compelling case. I still think the AI tools will eat the bottom 90% of the market, the cheap, fast, disposable content.
Let them eat it. We are building assets, not disposables.
Fair enough. The human authority counter-revolution has a strong foothold.
My advice to our listeners is simple. Use the tools to assist you, but do not let them replace you. If you want to build a transferable asset and close real deals, get in the room. Use a physical studio. That wraps up this session of The Debate. We hope this helps you navigate the noise of 2026. Thank you for listening.